I'm going to say something that might sound like heresy. Pokemon Red and Blue aren't just good remakes. They're the version of Kanto that actually works, because I love Red and Blue. But going back to them can sometimes feel like you're walking uphill in deep snow, wearing shorts and flip-flops. They're a little broken. And FireRed and LeafGreen fixed that. They didn't replace Kanto, they completed it. And now they're finally coming to the Switch and Switch 2. It feels like the right time to go back and talk about why these games matter so much, and why I love them. I'm Darv James, this is the Bald Archive. Like, sub, and tell me what you think in the comments. I have nothing but love for Red and Blue, but those games are chaos. Sprites look slightly confused about their own existence. That's a good description. Half the mechanics don't work properly. Psychic types basically run the entire region like an oppressive government regime, and movement is slow. You don't walk through Kanto, you inch through it. But at the time, none of that mattered because it was new, it was magical, it was Pokemon. Then Gen 2 came along and improved things, and then Gen 3 arrived, and suddenly Kanto was gone. Ruby and Sapphire are incredible. New region, new Pokemon, new everything. There's one massive problem. You couldn't bring your old Pokemon with you. They were trapped. Your Charizard from Pokemon Red, your Tysplosion from Pokemon Gold, that event Pokemon from Crystal, gone. Stranded in the past. Or in another timeline, whichever way you want to look at it. For the first time ever, Pokemon wasn't connecting to itself, and it felt wrong. FireRed and LeafGreen weren't just nostalgia bait, they were Game Freak fixing the problem. The first thing you notice when you play FireRed and LeafGreen is how smooth everything feels. Obviously the colours plop. The colours look amazing, using that Gen 3 engine. Battles flow better. Everything feels a little bit more alive, and you can run, and I think that's quite important. Running shoes changed everything. Sounds ridiculous, but at the time, this was life-changing to go through Kanto with running shoes. You weren't slowly dragging yourself across a planet anymore, you had momentum. And usually if you had to be at a place, you'd get there much quicker. Pokemon Centers, for example. Because you absolutely made terrible decisions. These weren't just visual upgrades. A lot of depth was added. Abilities now exist. Natures existed now. Held items were a thing. There's a lot more strategy. Your Pokemon weren't just your Pokemon in a party were playing rock, paper, and scissors. There was a bit more personality. Two people could have the same Pokemon and they would feel completely different. It made raising a team more personal. It made Kanto feel a bit more modern without losing anything special. Which I think is a rarity in remakes and remasters. And then the game did something nobody expected. It gave you more. The Sevii Islands, they weren't just bonus content, they were an expansion. New areas, new characters, new story, and more importantly, Team Rocket didn't disappear anymore. You could see what happened after Giovanni vanished, and you were dealing with the leftovers. The people trying to rebuild something that had already fallen apart. And that connected the story properly, and it made the world feel a lot bigger. FireRed and LeafGreen did something incredibly important behind the scenes. They reconnected Pokemon. You could trade between Kanto and Hoenn. You could build a complete dex. You could move forward again. Without FireRed and LeafGreen, Generation 3 would have felt incomplete. These games made everything whole again. They weren't optional, they were essential. For me, this is Kanto. Not because the originals didn't matter, but because FireRed and LeafGreen feel like Kanto was meant to be that way. They kept the heart, they just removed some of the frustration, and they let you explore the region without fighting the hardware, because we all know what Gen 1 cartridges were like. Buggy as hell. And sometimes the hardware would fail you. And I think that matters more than people realise. Now that FireRed and LeafGreen are coming to Switch, People get to experience this version of Kanto again, or maybe for the first time. And honestly, I hope this opens a door for the rest of Gen 3, because Ruby Sapphire and especially Emerald deserve to be here too. Emerald is one of the greatest Pokemon games ever made, and if FireRed and LeafGreen prove anything, it's that sometimes going back isn't about nostalgia, it's about finally doing things right.